I'm in the Champions League. I'm in the Champions League. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the session 18 of the United States National High School Champions League starting 11. And we got a guy who started with the starting 11 from every from from the 60s all the way now, because this cat is the guy for the when we got the National Champions League, and far as our guy in St. Louis, Tim McAvoy from St. Louis and Select Sports America. Long overdue, you big lug. Stand up and take it. Oh, you're standing. All right. We have nothing but the best with the Champions League. And when it first came to St. Louis, brought around, you were the guy, your teammate said, I know the guy to make this classy and stylish. And it's Tim McAvoy. Tim, I look over your resume, and as a player, impeccable. National champion, professional. And then you go to coaching, and it's kind of like, okay, I win this, I win that. And you win the cup, and you win the state championship at your old alma mater. And when I didn't know you from nowhere, but I heard you called the back post man, because you had that insight that when the guys, they would act as if they're shooting wide of the net. McAvoy's coming in under the radar, and boom, 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 just hitting gold, hitting all net. Man, it must have been really something to see you play, man.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate all those nice words. Yeah, a lot of years, a lot of playing, a lot of coaching, but the biggest benefit of it all is the friendships and the camaraderie with the soccer community over all these years. Like yourself, Coach Mickler, and who asked me to join this illustrious group on the 1 of 11 staff, and I'll be doing a segment every other Wednesday, trying to stay with Jim Hart's format of the 5 points and keep it limited in time. And my thing will be a little bit different, but I wanted to stress the fact that it's been a fantastic partnership for us here at Select to join the Champions League, to their journey to success, you might call it. On the 5 points, I'll try to discuss initially the interest that where Select started, a little bit about the product, a little bit about the Virtuoso Award that I began, and then I will end up each segment with what I call my pet peeve, and each segment I will bring up a different pet peeve and try and get some banter going back and forth. Following that, I will get into some other, maybe my journey along the way, 20 years at Adidas and Puma, and I can maybe give some insight behind the scenes, maybe a little dirty laundry of how that separation started that not too many people are aware of. And so that's kind of will be my format. I'd especially like to thank you, Kevin, for being such an instrumental promoter of the league and Select Sports since you kicked off your podcast a couple of years ago. I know you've had some knowledgeable guests and very entertaining in all facets of the game. But I've realized also that you had to lower the bar to fill some of the segments with certain guests like Bill McDermott, Don Draghi, Tim Logish. But you were able to salvage the segment regardless of their deficient knowledge of the beautiful game.
Ladies
So
and gentlemen, this is going to be heard. and it won't be dropped. It will be keep it on going. Those three above mentioned, they're the best friends of Tim McAvoy, and I just say admirers also.
So let me begin by just talking a little bit about the history of Select. Select began in 1947, which was actually older than Adidas and Puma, which both began in 1948 with the brothers Adi and Rudolf Dassler. But the founder of Select was Egil Nielsen. He was a Danish national goalkeeper, and he played on 28 different national team matches in the 40s and 50s. His players could not live solely on football, so he studied to become a psychologist. He worked in the footwear and the leather industry, and that's during that time that he began developing the Select soccer ball. This was the beginning of the collaboration between Select and the Danish Football League, and that meant the ball could maintain its roundness because he took the built-in valve and he made it a laceless ball. The original balls were 9 panels. They were leather. If you remember those, Kevin, like I do, back then, by the time halftime came around, if you were in inclement weather, the ball weighed about 50 pounds, and you certainly didn't want to hit him. But he was the leading manufacturer of balls at that time, and they sponsor many leagues from the German Bundesliga, Portugal, NAIA, USL, WPSL, so on and so forth. And they sell over 4 million soccer balls a year. And then the evolution of the game for Select, they started up with a company called AKI out of Pakistan. I know this is boring, but Coach asked me to go through the history a little bit.
Absolutely.
And he's a history buff. But the AKI group out of Pakistan started with Select in 1977. They produce, like I said, over 4 million balls annually that are sold in over 50 countries. The partnership is basically, they're known for their craftsmanship and innovation. They introduced several different technologies, which is actually, if you look at the ball today, there's 32 panels on it, and that was introduced by Select. It was also the first hand-stitched polyurethane ball. And recently, they went into recycled materials and ultrasonic technology to bond the panels to the bladder of the ball. So that's kind of the history of how the ball started and where it hooked up in 1977 to make the current balls that you see today. I have to say, all these different manufacturers, the biggest thing I like about Select, I've been with them for 25 years, is the fact that they take care of their people. Like the people at AKI, a lot of them live in poverty. And Select has a shared responsibility to all the factory employees. They created a thing called the Select Anwar Health and Education Program. They focus on the workers and their families through education and health programs. And that kind of solidifies our commitment to the product quality, but also the social responsibility that Select has to community development. So it's been a great partnership, and for the highest quality soccer ball manufactured. So from the history then, if you want to take a look at the ball that we're currently using in the league, our top ball, which is about $170 retail ball, is called a Brilliant Super. That's what all the teams get. It's a match quality ball. Again, 32 panel, it's hand stitched. Kind of a misnomer if you talk about balls, a little inside information. We get a lot of balls, and the higher quality balls, believe it or not, most people don't know, are supposed to lose air. And they're supposed to lose air like every couple days. So teams just get a ball, they'll pay $170 a ball. I'll get a call over the years saying, this ball's terrible, it doesn't hold air. Well, it's designed that way to keep its roundness. If you want a ball that doesn't lose air, you can go to Target and buy one for $19.99, and it'll never lose air. So we developed this ball so that because of the bladder will expand and deflate, and as it expands, it'll hold its shape and the air quality maintains, and then also at the same time, the air flight of the ball and the feel of the ball maintains its, the way it was supposed to be. So that's kind of the history of the ball and the history of the company, Kevin. You have anything you want to add to this boring presentation?
Not boring at all. Very
Okay.
informative. And I got a newfound respect for Select and its employees.
Yeah, it's something you don't see as the other side of the equation. I think it's very important. It's part of the reason that I stay with the company, because of their integrity and also the quality. So that's kind of why I stay with them. My next point, trying to stay in your time frame here, is to talk about the Virtuoso Award. It's an award I personally developed with the name and contracted a company out of the East Coast to make this beautiful trophy for us. Internationally, and most people in the soccer community have heard of Ballon d'Or. That's the top award that's given out internationally to the top player from the previous season. For instance, Messi has won this award 8 times. And so I wanted to have something a little bit different and have a name. I'm sure most people don't even know Ballon d'Or is the golden ball. The Virtuoso, most people don't know what that means either. And so basically, I wanted to come up with something like Ballon d'Or where people didn't know the name. Virtuoso means it's an exceptionally skillful and dominant display by an athlete who elevates the game to a new level. I also wanted it to be something that was difficult for people to understand. And they go, what does that mean? So the objective is kind of a marketing thing too. And then I think that the younger people can relate to something that has a little mystery to it, like an intrigue, like the Virtuoso name does. And so I also have to throw kudos out to you, Kevin, because you've brought that name up over 1,000 times in all your podcasts and all your discussions. I've seen you at the games, and not once in 1,000 times have you pronounced it correctly. So I achieve my objective there, is that people try and figure out what the hell that is. So that's what I've tried to come up with, and it seems to have worked so far.
Virtuoso performance, baby. Way to
There you go.
go.
You pronounced it right when we got on the show today. Very good.
All right, then.
So that's about all I have for the history of the game and the Select sport and its relation to the game, and the Champions League, which has been truly an honor the last couple of years. We supply all this product to the league. We've have over 100 teams we've sponsored in 2 years in Florida, with John Walsh, Dave Wilson, Perry Vanderbeck, and Jim Hart responsible for the great involvement they've allowed me to have with Select in the state of Florida. And it's growing ever so much because of the endeavors of Terry and Greg Keller and the rest of the all-star board that's accumulated, and all the fine people are behind the program. And I know we're expanding rapidly, and Select is committed to sponsoring all these new cities and clubs that are coming on board and teams. And so it's going to be a great ride. It has been so far, and it's only going to get better. So I'm pretty happy with it. We've given out 12 Virtuoso awards to outstanding. I do that in collaboration with Coach Mickler. We assess the games, we review the players, and decide on the player in that particular game. Might not necessarily be the best player on the team, but it's primarily a player who, in that particular game, contributed the most, not only in skill and technical ability in the game, but also the class. We find that very important. it's been pretty easy so far. We kind of look at each other at halftime and we kind of nod, and I'll say a name and he'll just tap his head, nod his head, and or he'll look at me and nod his head, and I'll nod my head and say, "Yeah, I agree," and away we go. So it's been pretty successful. The kids have been very receptive to it, both the boys and the girls, and it's been very pleasurable so far to be involved in that aspect of it as well.
Hey, Tim.
So
Hey,
go.
Tim, tell me the inside story about you and Ziggy Nagel's company that sponsors in the Champions League also.
Well, Ziggy, is out of Lakeland, Florida, and he's also one of a top college advisor. I guess is what he mainly is. He talks to young people and gives them a direction and a roadmap to different colleges and what the best fit is for them. And Ziggy contacted me last year. He's heavily involved at Champions League, obviously, and asked me to see if I could outfit the high school, the Tampa area All-Star game for boys and girls, which was held a few months back. So we worked 2 or 3 months putting together special makeup uniforms for all four teams, from the goalkeepers to the 25 players on each team. Uh, there's- I got tremendous pictures, a great turnout, and Ziggy did a tremendous job with it, and it got a lot of exposure. We worked out a terrific deal, just the same as the balls. We're not trying to make any money on this for Select. The whole thing is at no charge, just because the Select people and myself appreciate the endeavor. So we did the All-Star game this year as well there, and there's probably going to be, we're going to repeat next year there, and hopefully in other cities as well. So it's good for everyone. Everyone's all on board. So
Hey,
yeah, it's a good deal.
don't worry about the time because the longest goodbye you'll ever have is when you say hello to the whale. So,
That's good.
so the story goes, Select is more than just a ball. It's got the uniforms, the all the equipment for uh, working out and so forth and so forth. Could you just spend a moment or two? It's
Of
a
course.
yeah.
Yeah, they've primarily Select Sport America has been primarily a ball a ball company for distribution in the U.S. and in the other countries in the Scandinavian, and they're out of Copenhagen, Denmark, and they basically have an entire range over in the Scandinavian countries. And Select primarily in the U.S. was just soccer balls and bags, and then we expanded into some field equipment and that type of thing, training equipment about 5 or 6 years ago. And then within the last 2 to 3 years, following what was going on in Europe, in the Scandinavian areas out of Copenhagen, we went into a full range of team apparel, team uniforms, stock team uniforms, and also special makeup team uniforms. It's a crowded industry, but they've been quite successful in Europe, and they've come on pretty strong here in the U.S., like with these high school all-star and many other clubs throughout the country. So they jumped into that foray, which is highly competitive, but it brings them to light as a full range soccer company today. And there's a lot of them, but they've survived because of the ball business, because of the quality, and that's transferred over to the equipment and the uniforms going forward.
Under full disclosure, Tim, I gotta say that when I was in high school, I received a select bag, the big white one with the select on it, and just was off the charts. Uh, I still wish I had it today. And then I had, I think about it all the time, and it keeps my head warm. The select stocking cap. Oh, baby. And lastly, they had a thermal coat that was the best of the best. And I mean to tell you, I think I thought I could go to Mount Everest with it on.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Kevin, because most of these countries and that have a source, meaning Adidas and Puma in Germany and um, Nike and the rest of the companies, if you look at their European catalogs, like even like ASICS, they have a full range. The catalog for soccer, like for ASICS alone, is like 2 inches thick, and yet we don't even see any product here. Um, so in the U.S., but everywhere else in the world, ASICS is a factor, Mizuno is a factor, obviously Adi, Puma, and Nike are factors. I have trouble saying Nike. I've been with Puma and Adidas, so that's a bad word for me. But so it's truly crazy how big soccer is internationally, and we're just kind of a little segment of that market, and we think we're bigger than we are, and yet we're finding out the billions of people that are going to tune in for the World Cup here starting next month. We're just a little segment of a big market. So.
Yeah, well, it's only a select ball for the whale. I'll guarantee you that.
I know you've been behind it all the way. I think the only other, you've said some shocking things to me, but the only thing that shocked me more, and probably Coach Mickler, was in 2018 when we won the state championship at CBC, when I was helping Coach Terry there. Uh, at that halftime speech, Terry gave a set of final words. I said a couple words. And then the thing that vaulted us to the state championship that year was when you took your shirt off at halftime. Um, and I saw 50 eyeballs look up in total shock, and they knew they had to win after that.
Yeah,
motivation
man.
from
There you go. You know.
It was special.
Yes, it was. Okay. Memories. All right.
Oh, yeah, that was a good memory. That's
Yeah.
a good memory.
Yeah, they don't have a big and tall shop in Select or any of those places.
I know I tried for you, buddy, but I can't come up with a shirt. So I'm still looking, believe me.
All right. Okay, you got some more item, I'm sure.
Oh, the only thing I got left for you is my 0.5, which I'll continue to use. And in, like I say, subsequent shows, I'll talk about maybe some of the other brands that I've done and some of my experiences that way. But my last point on each segment that I'll do every other Wednesday will be my pet peeve segment. And I'm still around all the soccer fields in the St. Louis region all the time. And I still see the training sessions from all age groups, whether it be at Lou Fuse or Sporting. And I'm sure the same thing applies to the state of Florida. And I'm not saying it, I'm not being totally negative on all the coaches or all the clubs, but what I see out there on training sessions is part of the reason I see that we're having, the kids are bored and they're burning out when they're 15 and 16 years old. And when they get to freshman and college level where they should enjoy college soccer careers, they're just leaving the game. And they're leaving many players. I'd say a high percentage of high school good soccer players are just saying, enough, I'm moving on, I'm going to do something else. It's not exclusive. It happens in baseball, football, basketball, the same thing. I get that. But I think it's disturbing, and I think part of it is what I see it on the training field each and every week. The coaches have these guys, the kids, boys and girls, for 90 to 120 minute segment, 2 to 3 times a week. And all I see them do is drills. It looks like the coaches get so excited they jump out of their car and put the cones down and then set up 90 minutes of drills. Not all of them. I'm not throwing everybody in the same bushel basket here. It's just a high percentage of them. I'll leave it at that. And I look at the eyes of these 10, 11, and 12-year-olds out there, and they're just like, after about 60 minutes, they've run the same drill for 20, 30 minutes, and they're just bored. I don't see any smiles on the field anymore. It's just, I think that's what's detracting the game. It's just way too many drills. Because I also think, as I used to do work with Quick Goal to make soccer goals, and they're all over all the fields in every market in Florida and Missouri, you see goals, quick goal everywhere. But it's sad because those goals are expensive, but nobody uses them. They want to set up little bitty small sided games, whether it's a 10-year-old or a 17-year-old. And they just want to play little small sided games, 5v5, 6v6, which are great. I'm not saying you don't need those. I'm just saying at some point in time, you got to utilize the big goal because I see them on the field that are just rusting away because nobody shoots on goal. There's no offensive attacking other than maybe 5-10 minutes that's kind of my pet peeve for today, Kevin.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because this I've been wanting to ask you since it's happened. 2016, you had this striker, and he was gifted for sure. And I used to work out the goalkeepers, and you say, "Hey, you done Wales?" Yeah. And then I would turn my back to focus on the goalkeepers. What did you do with that striker before each game that I know without a doubt you improved his game and his love for it?
Well, I think, this is where Coach Mickler and I talk a lot of times. There's so much mental side to this game, and being a forward all my life and coaching forwards, I think the mental aspect, you can work on all the technical stuff you want, and which is obviously super important. But you have to have this mental approach, and as a forward, as the nine or any attacking player, I used to take the forwards and I would put them at the six, and I would just no goalie, and I would just roll the ball, pass the ball to them, a very slow pace, and let them just hit the ball as hard as they could in the back of the goal for like 3 or 4 minutes right prior to a game. I just wanted to have implant the thought of what it felt like to score a goal and then take that into the match. So I think that's what you were talking about.
Absolutely. Do you still see the ripple in the back of the net when you came in on the goal?
Always, always. My mindset. But I will say back when you and I and Coach and most of the guys on his staff played, there were no nets.
Yeah, yeah, right, baby.
But
Yeah.
the point being is you have that mental picture, and if you can keep that mental picture, you won't freeze up in front of the goal, and you'll have an idea where the ball belongs and what a finish looks like, and uh, that exhilarating. I know some people don't always appreciate the celebrations that some of these players are doing, especially international. And you've seen this as transcend down all the way to 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I personally think it's fantastic. You should be excited when you score a goal. You've achieved something as a team and as an individual, and uh, the more you celebrate that, it means something other than just scoring a goal and walking back and high five a couple people. No, you want to celebrate your score goal. You have to do it in a classy manner, but that's an important segment of the game, especially for a forward and the entire team, actually.
Yeah, your former teammate and our friend Terry Minkler always talked about there was a difference between people who score goals and goal scorers. And since you've been around, man, and going to be around, you have always scored the goal, man. In everything you do, a magnificent family, and on and off the pitch. The best to you, and the best to select. If you want me to give me the telephone number of the president, and I'll call him and tell him all about you, Tim.
After 25 years, they know me well enough. I'm just hanging on, Kevin.
All right, then, baby. All right. So, you know that you are on the starting 11 at the United States National High School Champions League. Thank you, Tim, for all you do.
All right, Kevin.
All right.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for this opportunity to Jim and Terry and yourself for getting me on this podcast and having a segment to talk to people about the beautiful game.
The virtuoso, baby. All right.
You said it right again.
That's